Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is D, and in this video we're going to show you how to style your Cricut machine. Here we have two different models. We're going to dress them up in two colors so they'll both stand out better than its normal look right here. Now you see this one, it has a different shape. They all perform the same, but the shape is different. What we're going to do is vinyl wrap this machine. So here are the sections that we're going to vinyl wrap and the sections that we're going to keep clear. Now this area right here, we're not going to vinyl wrap that. We're going to keep that area white. And then on this side, we're going to wrap that. We're going to do the other side as well. Top side, we're going to wrap that. Don't worry about the buttons because we're going to show you how to get around that. Now these stickers, decals, don't worry about that. We're going to leave those there and we're going to cover them with the wrap. This area here, we're going to keep that the same and cut around it. And this cup holder here, we're either going to remove it or we're just going to simply cut around it. This area here, we're going to keep the same. We're going to have that decal and then we're going to match it up with the color that we're choosing. So the color that we're going to select is a very vibrant color. A lot of holographic going on in there, and it's going to match up well with that proud female veteran decal at the top. This color here is going to make it stand out and give us pretty much a more vibrant look. Throughout this video, we're going to show you how to wrap this Cricut Maker on the right. And this Cricut Explore Air 2, we're going to show you the process of us wrapping it, so it won't be very detailed. As you can see, this one here is more simpler. It has pretty much flat surfaces everywhere. The only difference is on the sides. That's when the curves come about. That's the hardest part to wrap. Now this top, we're going to stay away from this area simply because of the words and the designs. We can't cut around that, so therefore we're just going to keep it clear. Don't stress yourself out with this process. Backside already has lines to where we can make easier cuts with the vinyl. Now let's take a look at the inside of this Cricut machine. Very similar to the one on the right. The inside is white. Since we're going with a color, we're going to keep that white and we're going to try to base it and coordinate everything. We're not going to wrap those inside pieces. We're only going to focus on the outside and a few areas on the top of it. So our color choice for this Cricut machine is a nice neon Tiffany blue with a gold pearl effect. This is my top choice, man, because look at the gold over here. The gold is going to match the wrap. So therefore, everything is going to coordinate perfectly. This Cricut machine is really going to stand out. Now for me, this is my top choice of color versus the pink. But let me know what you think in the comments. Now let's get into the tools we're going to use. If you're a beginner, these set of tools will help you have a safer install if you do it right. Now I have two razor blades. You can choose your own, but these are the ones that I like to use. I have a box cutter, I have a squeegee, and this right here is knifeless tape. This is a lifesaver, man. This here will make it easier for you so that you don't cut on anything that you're applying vinyl to. A heat-resistant glove. You gotta have it because you want to protect your hands and fingers from this heat gun that you have to use because you gotta maneuver and shape the film when you're installing. My thing about vinyl wrapping, I remove anything that's possible because it makes it easier to apply the film and you avoid cutting in certain areas that you don't have to. When it comes to this front side, we're going to do it separately because it makes it easier to apply the vinyl in the sections. This section here will be separated from the center. This section here will have its own section as well. Now when we come down to the top, we're going to put knifeless tape there. And after that, we'll apply a new piece over the top and we'll trim it on the sides. You see this knifeless tape here? It's pretty easy to work with. You just got to know what you're doing when you're applying it. On this back side, we have the knifeless tape to stop a line because we're not going to take it all the way through in one piece. Since we're separating it from the center, We're gonna cut it off on the edge, and therefore we can have a line that's coming directly from the bottom. Now you gotta have loose ends. This loose end is gonna allow me to cut the film and have enough room to pull it back. Don't worry, I'll show you how to use it. This line here is a continuation from the bottom. So let's take our knifeless tape and do exactly what we did to the other side. We're gonna run the string up the top and we're gonna connect it to that line. Now remember, before you start this process, you gotta clean that Cricut machine. Soap and water, and then try 70% alcohol, which is the safest, and 90% will do as well. Now remember, have some string left because you gotta cut through that film. And we're gonna show you exactly how to cut through once we overlay the film over the knifeless tape. Let's make our way back around to the front side. We have a line right here. We don't need knifeless tape there. We can cut directly on the base. Where the chrome is above, that's gonna be where we're gonna apply the wrap. You see here, these are our pieces that we're gonna do. We already cut them out because it makes it less stressful on the mind. When it's time to apply wraps, you don't wanna keep going back and forth. So having your sheets cut out, it's gonna make it easier, trust me. Here is an example of what it's gonna look like. Now, don't worry, I'm gonna show you how to get around this because this is the most difficult part to wrapping, curves. As you see, we have everything cut out neatly. We've already cut through it with our knifeless tape, and it looks pretty smooth to me. Now, you work all the way back around, you see that effect? That Cricut machine is already looking better than it already does. It's top side. We're gonna show you how to get around that, and we cut it there because we gotta overlay it with our top piece. Our top piece is gonna point down, so therefore that line won't be visible. Now check this out. Look at those sharp edges cut. Everything is neat. The base of anything is your best friend when applying vinyl. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on this other side. We're gonna start it where the line is, but our focus to keep it above the chrome. So applying this, we're gonna go ahead and have our knifeless tape at the top. We got it set because when we take it over, we won't have to cut on this machine. So let's get started. Now, as we go around this line, we're gonna form it to where it's slanted because the curves is going upward. We're gonna be smart about this. Make it easier for yourself. As you see, the film is slanted, but we still have that line to make it even once we cut it. So the film won't be slanted. It just looks slanted as you apply it. As we smoothing down the surfaces, this is the front side. That's always an easier way, but when you're doing it by yourself, you have to do it the easiest way possible. This film isn't your normal average vinyl, so therefore it's harder to apply this film. So we're gonna apply the heat, light heat, and then we're gonna stretch it around this curve. Once we smoothen it out, we'll work our way around and we'll do the same thing just to get it around that curve. As you see, I'm forming it, and I keep going back and forth with the heat gun. That heat gun is much needed, trust me. Once we take it around and we get past our knifeless tape, that's exactly where we wanna be, but we wanna make sure everything is flat. If it's not flat, you're gonna have issues. Take your time, form the film properly, maneuver it with the heat gun because that's the only way you'll be able to shape it and form it in the direction that you need to go. Now that we have everything overlapped over the knifeless tape, we want to pre-shrink everything down to avoid pullback. Now with knifeless tape, any area that's not connected to a flat surface, you will have to make a cut. You're gonna make that cut towards the flat surface, and then you're gonna pinch down and just pull that knifeless tape through. You see that it's cutting on its own, and then here is the area that we gotta make our single cut to connect it with the knifeless tape. We remove that and we have a smooth line. On this front side, we're gonna use the base of the machine. We're gonna simply cut down, and then we're gonna cut around everything and remove the excess areas. Peel that back, And now you have a smooth line going down on both sides. This top side, we're gonna go ahead and make some relief cuts. Relief cuts are things that make it easier to maneuver the film because of certain areas like this. When you're trying to maneuver around curves, oh my God, that is the worst. So these relief cuts will help. Be sure that you don't overstretch your film. Use light heat and slightly pull the film over the knifeless tape. Now that we pre-shrink everything down, we'll start our knifeless tape. We'll pinch it through, bring it around. Now remember, with knifeless tape, there's always gonna be two green strings. If you don't remove both, it won't allow the film to contact the panel and it won't stick down. Now check us out. Nice, smooth, detailed lines. On this side here, we're gonna go above the chrome. Now remember, above the chrome is where we want the film to be. So we're gonna take our time, we're gonna find the base and run that blade directly over the top of it. And it's gonna give me something to go around it. Nice, clean cuts, and we're not cutting on the Cricut machine. We're gonna pre-shrink and heat everything down. The heat gun is gonna activate the film's glue on the backside, and it's gonna help everything stick properly. With the hardest parts out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and focus on the new section. We'll get to that back later, but we're gonna focus on this top side first. Take your film and slightly overlap it over the edge because you're gonna need that to cut. Take your squeegee everything around to the other side and make sure there are no bubbles, smoothing all the surfaces, and make sure you get everything down before you make any cuts. Once you cut, you can't go back. You're gonna have to use a new piece. Here you see me forming the film over every indent and everything that's on this top side of the panel. Now remember that overlap. This is where it comes in handy. I'm using the edge of the Cricut machine to make my cuts. You can use knifeless tape, but I'm familiar with this process, so therefore I can maneuver the blade. I'll go ahead and show you how I cut around every other area of this Cricut machine on the top side. For me, to avoid jagged edges, I use the edge or backside of any panel that I'm applying vinyl to. I'm not affecting the machine in no way because my blade is not cutting anything on the top side or sides of this Cricut machine. Now you remember that tool holder that I removed? Look how much easier it is to cut around that area once it was removed. Take your time because even though it looks easy, you have to take your time. If you decide to cut on any panel, take a sharp blade and glide across that film lightly. Avoid pressing down because you press down, you're gonna go through that film and you're gonna cut the panel. Here around these here buttons, we're gonna cut around it. I'm gonna use our more pointier blade and it's gonna get around those areas. The best thing about vinyl is that anything that you apply the wrap over, it'll still be there and it won't be affected by the film. Those decals at the top side, we place the vinyl over it, so when we remove it, they'll still be there and they'll still look the same. Now check out that line, seamless. You can't even see it. We're gonna go ahead and pre-shrink everything down and make sure it sticks properly. Now check out what we've done so far. It already looks good and we're not even done yet. We're gonna go ahead and finish it off with this area right here and it's all gonna come together. Just watch. This front piece here is straightforward. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Remember, we're going above the chrome line at the bottom. This is gonna be easy. Take our squeegee, we're gonna go ahead and go across it, and we're gonna make our cuts right in between the seams. So here's another note for you. Now remember, when applying vinyl, you don't want to make contact to the areas that you've already cut and laid. Most of the time you're gonna use painter's tape to pretty much go over that edge to avoid the contact. If vinyl goes over the top of tape, it won't stick. So that's a note for you. I'm familiar with this process, so therefore I can maneuver around this film. Like this area here. It's tough for a beginner to get around that area, but if you pay attention to the curves and edges, that makes it easy for you to make any cut. Use the machine, don't let the machine use you. And look at here. We're not even done yet, man, and ooh-wee, that's pretty. That's different. It's not your average Cricut maker, man. That's precise, that's precision, that's elegance, man. Now let's finish up this backside, the grand finale. We got our knifeless tape, and what's gonna happen is this knifeless tape is gonna help us stop the film because we don't have a backside to where we can run our blade through. Make sure you have enough over the edge, and it's gonna make it easier to run that knifeless tape through the film. Take our squeegee, run it evenly across, flat surface, so therefore you shouldn't have any problems. Take it over the top, make sure everything is in the creases. We're gonna make our cut because it's not on the surface. Take our knifeless tape, we're gonna pinch it through, and we're gonna run it straight down. Simple. Now, as for our other cuts, we're gonna use the machine. Tuck everything in before you make your final cut. You don't want the white showing or anything that you're cutting showing. Now, the machine has indents right there. We run our blade straight through it, and it makes it easier for our cut. Now, once I make my final cut at this bottom area, I gotta preheat everything down. Make sure your film is set and make sure nothing moves once you apply the heat. Now off to our second Cricut machine, the Explore Air 2. This is an easier one. We're not gonna go through the process and show you how to do it, but we're gonna show you how we did it. I want to thank those of you who stuck with me throughout this video, and I hope I've shown you how to upgrade your Cricut machine. Regardless of the make and model, you can make your Cricut machine stand out better than any competitor out there. Let me know what's your top color choice. Leave it in the comments because I want to know. You know what mine is. Let's check out those before and afters.